It is the Friday edition of our virtual happy hour presented by Bud Light Seltzer. Glad to have you along for this. 2:30 every day throughout the week. We have happy hour going on because means walkthrough is done, practice is done, the players are getting set for all of their Zoom meetings, and week one is officially in the books. Julie Donaldson here with you. For this happy hour, I am bringing in our Washington football team insider, Zach Selby. Zach, 1 week in the books. Are you feeling good about how things are going? Hang with us, folks. All right, we're getting Zach up and going and making sure that we can hear from him. But look, this was the first week that the players were entirely together. And because of COVID, there are a lot of different restrictions. We are seeing every single day players coming in here and having to get COVID tested. That is happening daily. Of course, their temperatures are also taken when they come into the building to make sure that they are healthy and safe and fine. The building has been blocked off in a lot of different areas to make sure that they are not in contact with anybody that doesn't have the right protocols and gone through the right testing to make sure that they're with them. In the morning, they've been going through 9 o'clock conditioning drills, conditioning segments, and at 10 o'clock, they've been going through a walkthrough. Now, as head coach Ron Rivera said, they're kind of having to treat these first few weeks really kind of like a mini camp because there weren't mini camps. There were not OTAs. This is the first time the team has entirely been together. And while they were going through their COVID test and making sure that they were clear, they weren't unable to be with each other. They couldn't go to the gyms. They couldn't go to fields to practice. So they were at home just waiting to get back together. Every player that we've been talking to throughout this entire time, they said, look, it has been so good to be back there with their brothers on the field, to be able to see each other, to kind of have that camaraderie come back in there and build that chemistry back up, as it has been a very long time since anybody on this team has been able to get together. We weren't able to necessarily shoot too much of practices, but we are bringing you what we can. They're going through individual drills. They're kind of getting their, as Adrian Peterson told me, getting their lungs filled with air and kind of seeing where they're at. Soon the helmets will be going on. That will come up on August 13th. And then on August 18th, the players will be able to put the pads on. So we'll kind of see a little bit more. But right now, it is a matter of the offensive coordinators, Scott Turner, and defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio installing their systems. And I'm told now that we can bring Zach on into happy hour. Zach, do you got us? Are you with us?
Yeah, we're good to go. We're getting ready. And what I was saying there is that I'm really happy to see, a lot of these players interacting for the first time, working together so well, really. I mean, because Chase Young hasn't really been able to spend time with any of his teammates, and all of a sudden he's, gelling really well. We were talking to Matt Ioannidis today, and he said he's fit right in with the personality and the chemistry that they're already building in that group. So that's the biggest thing that I've seen this week is just how well, despite not having to be together so long, is that they're already really, really working well together.
I'm glad, by the way, that you didn't stand me up in his happy hour because that just wouldn't have been cool. I want to make sure that I hear what you have to say because you're there writing all the things for everything that is being distributed from Washington football team. Fans make sure they need to follow you as well. One of the things also you talk about the getting back together is, there's a lot of hype for a lot of players. One of them on offense that we're really excited to see come back again is Terry McLaurin. And earlier his wide receiver coach, Jim Hostler, was talking about the expectations for him in year number 2.
Last year, when I watched him play last year, he surprised me with his play speed, how well he played with people around him, how well he played fast, how well he got to where he needed to go against good players, challenging players, and how well he finished on occasion with people around him. That's the hard thing about this. You can go out there and practice and throw balls around the guys, but in games, somebody's standing next to you and they're hitting the shit out of you. So that's a totally different thing. And that really stood out to me evaluating him. He did that. He did a really good job of that last year for a young guy. Usually that takes guys a little bit time to learn and be comfortable with. Moving forward, he's going to have to improve his game from a route standpoint. He's going to have to be able to do more in the route tree. He's going to have to be moved around more. All those things. When you have a number one guy, it's all about how defenses are going to try to defend him. And that's where, for him to keep growing, the ability for him to move around, expand his route tree, challenge defenders inside and out, that's where the growth is going to happen. That's where he needs to grow.
All right, so we are starting a tab here, Zach, with Terry McLaurin and the wide receivers. Look, I like the way that he kind of slyly slicked in there that he's going to get 100 targets a game. You know, and you look at the company that he'd be
Yeah.
keeping with that amount. I mean, it'd be with Edelman, Hopkins, McCaffrey. By the way, running back, getting 100 targets
Good
a game.
company, yeah, for sure.
Mike Thomas. So they're saying basically they want him in the same conversation of that. But defenses are going to be scheming for him now.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, that's what you can expect. I mean, he's the #1 guy, and that's what Scott Turner and Jim Haslett pretty much said. And, you know, we understand that the boy is fast. I mean, you remember that 69-yard touchdown he had week 1? Well, it turns out he was at a top speed of 21.2 miles per hour, and that's just insane when you think about it. I mean, like I said, the kid can move, but, you know, he's going to have to work on a little bit more. They wanted to work on his route tree. You know, they wanted to do like the slants, the posts, the out routes, and the comeback, everything that you're really looking forward to from a complete wide receiver. And we both talked to Terry. We know that he's a mature guy. We know that he's got these goals set for him, you know, coming into year 2. And I have complete confidence, honestly, that he's going to accept that challenge and take it on full steam ahead going into year 2.
Yeah, he was saying earlier that, look, you're not just going to view me as the outside guy. They're going to move me around in the lineup. And that falls right into sync with everything that Scott Turner is wanting to do with this offense. All right, our tab is started. When we come back, we're going to play a little bit of game. Seeing what is on tap, it is Washington Hold'em. Zach came up with this game. I'm not a big poker girl, but I'm going to be playing along, and Zach is going to school me on how we're playing poker with this Washington football team.
All right.
Me out to the ball game.
Take me out to the couch.
Baseball or football or racquetball. We don't mind, we'll watch any at all.
'Cause it's root for the home team.
Oh, way, we don't really care.
Oh, no, I care.
'Cause sports are finally back and there's a Bud Light there.
A moment of joy, a source of inspiration, an act of kindness, an old friend, a new beginning, some welcome relief, or a cause for celebration. What's inside? Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
This is the front door.
Here's the living room.
The hallway that takes us to
The kitchen.
The bedroom.
oh, and of course, where we spend most of our time.
The backyard.
We are having Bud Light Seltzers in this virtual happy hour. Glad to have them on as a sponsor. They are presenting this show to you. Look, we're having a lot of fun here. Throughout the first week is down from training camp. Zach Selby is with me for this, and we're going to play a little game now as we start a tab, Zach. And look, you came up with this, so I'm going to rely on you to carry me through this. I've played poker. I don't know that I necessarily have the poker face. I think I'd probably reveal my hand no matter what I had. But look, let's do it. Washington Hold'em is what you are calling this, and we're going to start with what's the call?
So the call, I'm going to go with Cole Holcomb here. Now, look, we all know that Cole had a great year last year, 105 tackles, a sack, a couple forced fumbles, the whole deal. But I think linebacker coach Steve Russ really wants to see a little bit more out of Cole this year. He has some things about his blitz pickup that he wants to fix, and he has some rough patches that just come with being a rookie that he really wants to smooth out. And like I said, Cole knows this. He knows all the goals that he wants to set, and he's talked to Steve Russ. He gets that this is an important part if he really wants to take the next step and be a quality starting linebacker. So while he was good last year, we need to see more, and that's what I'm expecting him to do.
You know, it's amazing to say that as a rookie, he came on, he had over 100 tackles. And in fact, look, he was drafted a bit late. He was drafted after 150. He was the third player in NFL history to have at least 100 tackles. So he's on to something. And I love it when they describe him as raw talent as well, which goes to show you that even with that, there is so much more potential to get out of him. And they say just how smart he is. He's actually joining the show a little bit later. We're going to be cheersing Cole. Somebody wanted me to ask if he got beefed up. So I will find out if he did, in fact, put on some extra muscle this offseason. All right, time for the Rays. Where are you going?
So the Rays, I'm going to go with another guy that had a really good year last year in Montez Sweat. Now, like I said, he had a really good year, and he came on a little bit late. He had 7 sacks last year, but 5.5 of those came in the last 8 games of the season. Now, my Southern draw is going to come out a little bit here, but the man was cooking with hot grease. He was on fire. So, another guy is coming on to the defensive line. His name is Chase Young, and the expectation is that Chase's naturally presence is going to, help Montez out, do the things that he does really well as a former first-round pick. Now, he built a foundation last year. Now we need to build that second and that third layer to become a complete edge rusher in this league. And, I'm not much of a betting man myself, Julie, like yourself, but I do say if I'm going to bet anything, it's going to be on Montez having a better year this year than last year.
Yeah, he beefed up as well. I mean, putting on a little bit extra weight, but I guess that's a transition as you do come into the NFL as well. Still growing. I mean, it's amazing to think that they're still growing into their bodies a good bit. But we saw a little bit of video on him that I was watching on Twitter. They was racing with Chase Young, and look, at the combine, he had the fastest 40 out there for his height and his size. He doesn't look like he has slowed down at all, and he's going to be sitting there challenging Chase every step of the way. They're going to be exciting to watch. If we are going all in, I mean, I know putting everything out there on the table because you are confident in what you have in your hand. Who is it?
So it's an easy one. I'm going to go with Dwayne Haskins there. Now, Ron Rivera challenged Dwayne when he first got here in January to step up and be a leader. And Dwayne has stepped up in a big way. He's lost weight. He's in the playbook. And on top of that, he's working out with his receivers in the offseason. And he's comfortable in this offense that Scott Turner is building for him. Now, I think he's doing all the things that a franchise quarterback needs to do. So I'm pushing all the chips in. I'm pushing the kitchen sink in there. Julie, don't worry about your chips. I'm pushing all of them in there as well. I don't have a house yet, but if I did, I'm putting that mortgage in there as well. Dwayne is going to have a fantastic season, and I am fully on board with him. Let's go.
Wait, if you were taking all of my chips too, I love the confidence, and I am right there with you on the confidence heading into this with it. But can we check with Dwayne just to say he's gonna cover us for this first? It might be
but
safe.
He might need to give us a loan a little bit. Yeah,
okay.
I guess you.
I think that look, if you're gonna go all in, I believe Dwayne. This is the year. It's his to lose. He's grasping the system. Look, I expect a lot of leaps and a lot of growth from him in this as well. All right, time for the river.
So for the River, I mean, we got to go with the Riverboat himself, Ron Rivera. Now, just look at what this man has accomplished already in his career. He inherited a 2-14 team with the Carolina Panthers, and then turned them into a perennial playoff contender, a division winner multiple times over, and he led them to a Super Bowl trip in 2015. I mean, he already has 2 Coach of the Year awards under his belt, and we all know that Ron Rivera likes to try his hand at some 4th down conversions every now and again when he feels the need to. So, Ron Rivera might like to call it a calculated risk, but you can't go with a better calculation than putting your faith in Ron Rivera. And he's primed to do the same thing here in Washington this year.
Well, that's why they brought him in, right? He has the ability to try and turn it around and get things going. Not going to argue against that. Real quickly, if you had a pair, who would it be?
Well, what better pair than Sean Davis and Landon Collins? I mean, look, they both have their idol in Sean Taylor, and we all know what he was able to do when he was alive. God rest his soul. But on top of that, they're both competent players. Landon Collins, 4 out of the last 5 seasons, 100 tackles. Sean Davis, Pittsburgh Steelers commensurate starter. He's been in the playoffs, and he had 190 solo tackles from 2016 to 2018. Those are all 3 categories that you really want to have out of your secondary. And what better pair to have? They're a pair of kings in my book.
All right, so that is what is on tap. When we come back, we are cheersing. And I told you Cole Holcomb is going to be joining me. We have a nice little conversation about how he spent his time in COVID and why his parents are now reaping the benefits of that time as well, and what he expects from himself in year 2. Stay with us here on our virtual happy hour presented by Bud Light Seltzer.
The natural light is amazing.
Hardwood floors.
There is a bit of a clogging problem.
At least Geico makes it easy to bundle our renters and car insurance.
Yeah, helping us save even more.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
Take me out to the ball game.
Take me out to the couch.
Baseball or football or racquetball, we don't mind, we'll watch any at all.
'Cause it's root for the home team.
Oh, way, we don't really care.
Oh, no, I care.
'Cause sports are finally back and there's a Bud Light there.
Miracles. What we deliver by delivering.
Cole Holcomb came on as a rookie, and as the season progressed, he said the game started to slow down for him. He finished with over 100 tackles, which is pretty outstanding, and yet they call him raw. They say that his talent can improve and his work in the classroom is exceptional, and it's showing, and it's going to show on the field. I chatted with him earlier. Here is cheers to that. Another Florida guy. I love talking to all these Florida guys. We're talking a little bit about COVID and how you survived. Did I get this right? You had to basically recreate an entire gym in your home in Florida to get your workouts in.
Yeah, like I was telling you a little bit earlier, I came back up for a family event and they shut the whole state down. So I panicked. I called Chad, our strength coach, and I was like, I need the Sorinex reps number. So I got on the phone with that guy, Darren. Shout out Darren for Sorinex. I said, hey, what can you send me in like 3 days? I need a list of like everything in your warehouse you can send. And he sent an entire, my family has an entire home gym now. Everybody's getting active in that thing.
All right, so mom and dad have no excuse to get the workouts in now that you're gone.
Oh, yeah.
Did you beef up a lot? I mean, we have some people out there, fans, that are trying to compare pictures from last year's training camp to this year's training camp. Like, are your guns a little bit bigger now?
Yeah, I mean, I had the home gym, so that's all I had to do during when we were quarantining. I was just working out, and then I come in, we have our Zoom meetings, and do a little recovery. But I mean, not really. I mean, I'm about the same weight as I was last year. I think they just caught a really good angle.
Okay, you're being probably a little bit humble coming in here. Like last season as a rookie, you had over 100 tackles. Only Darrell Green has had that much as a rookie. Do you think about those numbers and kind of the performance and what you were able to do? Because even though you had over 100, I know there were a lot of plays that you still left on the field and could improve upon too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm definitely a person that's like, people will talk about the positives, but for me, I'm like, what can I improve on? So for me, seeing those stats, I was like, man, that could have been a way higher number or something like I looked at the plays that I missed. Those are the ones that I sat on and okay, how can I make a better play on that, or a missed opportunity? How can I make that opportunity? So.
Yeah, and I hear guys talking about the meeting rooms. It's very unusual that you have to do all this through Zoom and kind of learn the defense that way. But the feedback that I'm getting is you're a pretty smart guy and you're picking up on this pretty quickly. Like Ron Rivera played linebacker, Jack Del Rio played linebacker. Do you go in and kind of pick their brains a little bit as you kind of look to advance your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was, my first interaction with Ron, I mean, we sat there and it was only supposed to be, I think, like a 10-minute conversation. We ended up talking like 2.5 hours went by, and I was like, okay, like it doesn't feel like that. Like when you're talking about something you love to do, it can go by so fast. So it's nice having like that many people playing your position that are coaching you. So everybody's kind of got their little inputs that they can add to help make you a better player.
So it's also my understanding your dad's a Raiders fan. So he was a big fan of Jack Del Rio. Has he had the opportunity to kind of meet him, talk to him? What was his reaction when he found out he's going to be your coach?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't gotten to meet him yet, but he already knew everything about him when we decided to bring him on as our DC. He was the first one to send me like 5 screenshots of news clippings and stuff like that. Like, man, I love that guy. Like, I think, he had all love for him, and he thought he did a great job in Oakland. So he was really excited when it happened.
So what have the conversations been when you're sitting there and you're talking to Rivera and Del Rio? Like, what are they telling you that you need to work on and kind of where you can take it?
I mean, it's just like little detail things. I think last year I had a lot of spurts of like good plays, and then I'd have a play where it's like, dude, your steps were wrong, like you just completely abandoned technique, and which sometimes that happened, and it's just being able to lock in, play in and play out. Having that focus to, okay, reset, refocus, new play, let's go. Like, sometimes I think I was a little too much of like this last season. Instead, I need to be more, consistent.
You have Thomas Davis Sr. in that room. I mean, 16 seasons still playing. And look, he had over 100 tackles last season with the Chargers. So he's coming in, still getting out there. Okay, I guess it goes 2 ways. One, are you going to be fighting for time with him? And 2, what are you actually learning from him?
He's definitely, coach will go in and he'll put in the installs, and we'll talk about things. And then Thomas will kind of bring up like a scenario and be able to talk about, like a tough scenario in this play. So like he'll highlight like, hey, this is something you have to be hyper aware of. This is a weakness of this defense. So you need to make sure like you're on top of your stuff if you're this play, if you're this responsibility, So he definitely helps like highlight very important key parts of each defense.
Look, they're switching over to the 4-3. You played that in college, if I'm correct. So last season was the only time you played in the 3-4. Where are you going to line up as linebacker in this system?
It's like coach wants us all learning every position, because especially with what's going on right now, you never know. A guy your starting Will might come down with COVID, and then, hey, we got to bump you from Sam to Will, or Will to Mike, or, so right now we're all rotating at like every spot. We're trying to learn as much as possible so we can have as much versatility at that position, all 3 positions.
Does the mental gymnastics of that get confusing at all?
It's definitely like, you got to definitely, be able to put things in buckets. And like for me, I try to put as many things in buckets as I can. So, hey, all these defenses we're flipping, all these defenses we're not flipping. In this defense, the Will's going to do this, but he's not going to do it in this one, and I try to, just categorize each one in different categories, basically.
That's why they call you smart, I suppose. Look, you've got that 4-3. You have Chase Young coming in here, that defensive front. I mean, how excited are you to know that they're playing in front of you?
Dude, our D-line has me so stoked. Like we got some animals up front, and it's it's got me really excited. It's gonna make things really easy for us. It's gonna having them to have to take as much attention as they're gonna have to our D-line. Like, it's gonna make things really easy for our backers and secondary.
I mean, you've had 1 week of walkthroughs. I mean, the pads won't go on for a while. You get helmets, I think, on August 13th, the pads on the 18th. But already early on, can you tell what the differences are going to be from last season to what they're trying to do going forward?
Yeah, I mean, no, Rivera's definitely made it clear, we're trying to build a winning culture, and he's not going to, we have a standard, and he's going to hold every guy to that standard. It doesn't matter who you are. And, he's made it very clear about that.
One thing I'm going to be very disappointed about that we're not going to get from you this season is seeing those images from the rookie skit. You absolutely crushed it last year.
I'm excited. I'm glad I got that out of the way. I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore.
You have to coach some of the guys up this year and see how they're going to do that, because
I know we can't have anybody slacking. No slacking out there.
All right, thanks, Cole. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, look, the rookie skits are always something fun to look forward to. Zach, talking about him, you can see that they are asking again. Every coach we talk to says they have to play multiple positions, and so they're really challenging these players to not just be at one spot, to be able to learn every single spot that's on that field.
Yeah, yeah, and one of the things that I've kind of learned about Cole over the past year of covering him is that he's a very smart guy. He knows the playbook. He's all about trying to figure out ways to figure out different schemes and different ways of getting to the ball in different kinds of fashions. And that's what I'm excited for him to see. He's going to learn from Thomas Davis. He's going to learn from all these experienced linebackers, coaches, like Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. So that's what I'm excited to see out of him. That's why I think he's going to have a good year.
You start talking about they want these players to be versatile, but as you do switch to the 4-3, it kind of changes a little bit some of the guys in the positions and maybe where they practice, specifically Ryan Kerrigan and Ryan Anderson. Where are we seeing them? Are they with the Ds or are they with the linebackers here?
Well, they're actually spending a lot of time with defensive line coach Sam Mills. That's where they've been pretty much all the time in Zoom meetings and now in the virtual meetings in camp. I mean, that makes sense. Ryan Kerrigan, as we know, is about to be the franchise leader in all-time sacks, so there's nothing to sneeze about that. And then Ryan Anderson, he was a good rusher as well. He had 4 sacks and 5 forced fumbles last year. So, both of them are really good at what they do. And Jack Del Rio said it best in January when he said that, he really wants his edge rushers to do what they do best, which is rush the passer more often and then drop back in coverage less. And that's exactly what they're going to do for him.
All right, a lot of those guys are just going to go forward, and I think that they are excited for that. A couple of the bubble players, look, Sean Hamilton has been here for a while. It's my understanding they keep saying that he's due for a breakout season and a breakout year, and under this system, he could just have that opportunity.
Yeah, so far he hasn't really been a guy that we've heard a lot about. He had some good numbers in the past couple seasons, 76 tackles, 2.5 sacks, but like everybody else on this roster, he is going to have to fight for a spot to be on the team. Now, on top of that, they're full of good players here on this roster. Cole, and we've already talked about him, and we've already talked about Thomas Davis a lot. And we're gonna have to see how that shakes out in the next couple of weeks. But there's no doubt about it that Sean Hamilton is a guy that we're gonna need to see more of, and he's gonna have to prove himself this year.
And then, of course, everybody has their eye on Reuben Foster. The word that I heard described about him was phenomenal to see what he is doing given the injury, and he's still not entirely healthy, doesn't have the green light to go, but working his way back.
Yeah. So this is a pivotal time for Reuben Foster. He's currently still on that active PUP list, and they can take him off really at any time. But, it has to be by the end of this training camp. If he's still on the PUP list, they can push him over to the reserve for the next 6 weeks. If he's still on there by then, they have another 6-week window to decide what to do with him. There are a couple of options. They can either, let him practice and be on the active roster. They can release him, or they can just decide to keep him on the PUP list and, keep their options open if they want to bring him back at a later time of the year. And, like you said, Ron Rivera has pretty much said that he is very confident about the offseason that Reuben Foster has had so far. As frustrating as it is for all these Washington fans to hear, the best thing that we can do right now is just wait and see until we know what Reuben Foster can do.
All right. They said at some point you should expect him out on the field. It's just a matter of when. When we come back here, though, we're going to close it out. We're going to tell you what is coming up next week. You can anticipate at training camp.
Is the front door.
Here's the living room.
The hallway that takes us to
The kitchen.
The bedroom.
Oh, and of course, where we spend most of our time.
The backyard.
The new house is amazing, so much character.
Original crown molding, walk-in closets.
We do have a rat problem. At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
It does help us save.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
Take me out to the ball game.
Take me out to the couch.
Baseball or football or racquetball, we don't mind, we'll watch any at all.
'Cause it's root for the home team.
No way, we don't really care.
Oh, no, I care.
'Cause sports are finally back and there's a Bud Light there.
As we close out week 1 of training camp, it is time for Selby Steals.
Yeah, so Selby Steals. All right, I'm going to go back to Sean Davis here. So I remember back whenever we first signed him, and I looked back at that because I knew about him. I didn't know too much about him, though. And then I think, oh, my God, this guy is probably my most favorite signing of the entire group that we've had. I mean, check this out. Prior to getting hurt in 2019, I mean, the man had 242 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 20 pass breakups. That's what you need out of a quality starting safety. And I mean, the guy's a steal. There's no doubt about it to me. And, I expect him to have a fantastic season. And, I think we're all going to be looking back, in a few months, like, oh my goodness, how do we get a good quality starter like Sean Davis with such a good deal for 1 year? I mean, I'm excited for what he can do. And I think he's going to fit in so well on this defense.
I'm going to go with the optimism. That's fine. He's got to prove it. That's what Coach brought in. Make these deals. Prove it, and you can get paid later. Bigger contracts, the longer-term deals. Okay, we will keep an eye out on him. Thanks for joining us, Zach Selby, our Washington football team insider. I'm Julie Donaldson. That is your virtual happy hour presented by Bud Light Seltzer. We'll see you next week.